What happens when you mix a top-down isometric shooter with a cyberpunk dystopian future? A one-man killing machine that has been reprogrammed with little known of his real identity and a cybernetic arm, a helmet with a computer screen for a visor, and module upgrades implanted all over his body, plus a kick-ass soundtrack that feels a lot like the Blade Runner remix. Well, that would be Ruiner. Developed by Reikon Games and published by Devolver Digital, this title released back in 2017. Ruiner takes place in 2091 in a futuristic location of a cyberpunk metropolis known as Raincock, where cyborg hookers and butcher shops hang out around the same street corner. And if you are just as likely to run into a dance club or go around a corner where Mohawk gym nuts do push-ups in the middle of the street and at the same time punching each other in the face for shits and male superiority. All the while, the citizens of Raincock are being monitored and controlled by a conglomerate company known as Heaven, your typical evil, tyrannical corporation with their many manufacturing facilities nearby and a crooked law enforcement patrolling the streets. But before we get too riled up in a frenzy about this wonderful sophistications of the future world, let's take this time to slap on your favorite cyberpunk biker's helmet and spiked armbands. We're going in full review style. And if you like what I have to say, remember to subscribe. Gameplay and storyline. As the player, we're being led but more effectively hacked by an individual named Wizard that wants us to assassinate this figurehead called the Boss, the leader of Heaven. Before we can finish this deed in the first scenario, we're hacked by someone else who is referred to only by her. She basically reboots our system and frees our conscience from control, mostly. This is where we also get our name, in which she affectionately calls us Puppy. She tells us that the Wizard was contracted by another group and that the protagonist's brother, us, has been kidnapped. And with the tables turned, the player embarks on tracking the Wizard down. Now the first step is to go smash some heads in at the local homicidal gangbanging clubhouse of the Creeps, which is basically a parking lot, and to get at Wizard and hopefully get some intel on our brother's location. Now all goes to plan, and even in the process, we become crowned the new king of the Creeps by slaying their boss, Nerve, in a duel. Wizard's brain gets scrambled egg style as we hack into him, kill him in the process, and showing that we need to take off for this place called the Hanzo Compound, a manufacturing plant for machine parts ran by a cyborg named Traffic King and an AI named Mother. Now, effectively, after waves of armed guards, we meet up with the sadistic version of Louis from Taxi as he tries to kill us before we gain control of him similar to the Wizard and hack him to follow us around like a stray animal. Now, all the while forcing him to do our bidding, or he'll have to feel the wrath of some really painful electroshock therapy. Now, let me tell you guys, it was kind of therapeutic. The plot continues to thicken as Her helps us to follow the beacon tracking device on our brother to Mother's location, effectively called the Farm. Now, I've got a little bit of a slight spoiler here because it's going to outline some of the storyline and some of its faults. This is where actually we will see humans being harvested, very similar to the Matrix, except in this version it is for our brain power to run a virtual reality device that Heaven manufactures and sells to the civilian population. And I got to tell you guys, it was some really creepy shit. All that being said, it does lead itself to the environment and gives the player some measure of immersion instead of just making it a brainless action game, which is also going to lead us to where we're going to next, and that's gameplay. Now, before we get totally immersed into the gameplay, I also want to mention about the hub world of the city of Raincock. Now, this does give some minor immersion aspects as well, and it does allow you to travel in between missions and interact with civilians in this little city complex, and it even comes complete with some small side quests that can be picked up that are kind of interesting, like hacking into robotic cats and things of that nature. But as beautiful as a setup as it is, which I thought was fantastic, the environment just really isn't utilized fully, and it doesn't actually do anything other than make a minor gate of content between the various storyline missions, which I thought was really disappointing because this could have been something that really separated Ruiner's title as a top-down shooter from others of its type. Didn't. Now, this is a top-down shooter, and it does nail the feel and progression, and you really get some tight gunplay and hack and slashing, but also it comes with a pretty solid talent structure that is interchangeable on the fly, which is increased in scope as you gain experience to level up your character. Now, the talents are varied, as are the guns and the melee weapons, and allows for many different variants on gameplay style between a fast-paced, bomb-throwing, shock-inducing badass, or a master time manipulator with a dash ability, that's almost always off cooldown. Also, each weapon has its own unique fill and spread, which is useful as everything is regulated on an ammo or usage system. Now, you do have a base gun and melee weapon that has unlimited ammo, but the pickups are where you get the real juice to hammer through the opposition. With a constant stream of drops, in one fight you may change weapons several times before moving on to the next area or stage. Overall, the gameplay is really good, and smashing in the heads of the bad baddies or gunning down corporate cronies can't get old. Or can it? One thing that started to nag me about midway through the playthrough was the repetitive level design and narrow passageways. Also, a lack of variant AI enemy types sealed the deal along the way. Ruiner becomes very grindy. Without that solid storyline to help push the player forward, variant AI would be the next logical step, and the failure on both fronts leaves a lot left on the table. Now, this is made up some from the level of difficulty Ruiner presents, where easy feels like normal, normal feels like hard, and hard feels like you might have a few screws loose if you try it. Now, whatever your skill cap, Ruiner presents solid challenges throughout, and it is a shining grace to the title. There's also some really nice recycling of content going on as level progression continues even after beating the game, allowing you to feel a full range of the abilities learned as you replay some of your favorite levels. Sound and music design. Music first. For me, there were moments of a corridor opening or a beginning stage, and that wave of dramatic synthwave would filter through my headphones and get my skin all tingly right before encountering some AI that needed to understand messing with a faceless protagonist wasn't going to end very well for him. For some, you're really going to get into it, and for others, it's going to be a polar opposite. It's really going to come down to how much you like that heavy synth sound, and like I said, it kind of mimics Blade Runner. I kind of got those kind of vibes from it. Also, it has some kind of Far East undertones, and it just really mixed and blended pretty well. And overall, I really enjoyed the score, and I rated it up there with like something else that I reviewed last year, which was Hyperlight Drifter, and I scored that soundtrack pretty high as well. The combat sounds were pretty intriguing, and the background chatter from the AI was fitting. The slight hum of machinery and the ambient noises in the background, which was almost always present, since we're in factory settings, fit right in with that dull metallic thuds or wailing gunfire and explosions that rip climatically across the screen almost every couple of seconds. While the design wasn't over the top in this department, it did well enough with some good work done in wide areas that were enclosed, like the parking lot where the noises seemed to just bounce off the walls and helped really give some nice touches to that artwork and level design. As you guys know, I rate games as buy, sell, or forget about it, and Ruiner is a way for a sell. While it was visually stunning and it sounded well, it just really had a few hiccups when it came down to the repetition in the storyline, how weak it was overall, and just really kind of the non-variant AI. So otherwise, I think it's a great title. It's a good game, but it's not one that you're going to have to be forced to rush out and get right away and buy it at full price. I would wait for a nice little sale to pick this one up and try it out at your own convenience. Like I said, there's a lot of replayability here. You can go back through, you can continue leveling up and progressing your character. And so after you get done and you step away for a week or so or 2 weeks, you can come back to this title and you can get some more enjoyment out of it. So that is definitely a positive moving forward. And overall, like I said, I think it's a good game. But for this review, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm Dungeon J signing out. Guys, have a great day gaming. Later.
I'm just walking the line and there's nobody with